August the 10th, 2021. Guys, you're looking at the latest from the National Hurricane Center out of Miami. Potential tropical depression number 6 is what this storm is called. Later today, you can see by the black circle right there with the S in it, it's predicted to become a tropical storm. That would be Fred if it makes it that far. Now, it has cleared the Leeward and Windward Islands here. It didn't take a lot out of the storm. They're not that big. It's going to skirt the southern edge of Puerto Rico, the southwestern edge, and then it's going to be impacted, it looks like, by the Dominican Republic and Haiti. You've got tropical storm warnings out in Puerto Rico and in the Dominican Republic. On the other side of the island, on the Haiti side, you've got tropical storm watches, and as well as in the path going right up into the Gulf. Again, predicted to be a tropical storm by today, 8 a.m. Wednesday, tomorrow coming ashore, Dominican Republic. That's going to slow it down, the mountains and things like that. And you see it going back to a depression, remaining a depression until it's just north of the eastern end of Cuba, getting back into open water. Notice that after it crosses the Dominican Republic island, it doesn't really have to deal with much land, especially some of the mountainous islands and things like that. It's like a clear shot right into the Gulf. Now, it will be back to a tropical storm, they're saying here, and this is going to be updated by 8 p.m. tomorrow, Thursday. Back to a tropical storm, then skirting the northern coast of central Cuba, coming across the Florida Keys and Dry Tortugas there by 8 a.m. Saturday, guys. This is Tuesday. By then, that's the center of location. The center of rotation, So that means that tropical storm force winds have already affected that area. It just depends on how strong it is. Now, it's predicted to remain a tropical storm by 8 a.m. Sunday. Now, we're going to look at some of the other forecasts, and by this time the storm is going to be strengthening as after it clears the southern tip of Florida and comes across the Florida Straits. And so it's going to be very close to a Cat 1 strength by then. It's going to change, we know that, but the models are really coming close together as far as where the storm is going. We're going to take a look at it. Now, this is the Caribbean satellite imaging. Again, it's cleared the first section of islands here. It's going to come across Puerto Rico, then the Dominican Republic, and then again in open water according to the models. Now, it will do a couple things here. Once it gets into the Florida Strait, depending on how close it is to Florida, you've got the Gulf Stream, warmer water. We talked about that and probably every year for the last several years, and that's always a strengthening factor. We got high pressure above the storm in the Atlantic that's keeping it along this westerly track. If that high pressure were to let off somewhat, guys, just keep an eye on the eastern coast or the Atlantic side of Florida too, just in case, because we do know they will change. But right now, it's predicted to come into the Gulf and start to strengthen. Now, there's a little more info on the Sky Tower website. This is Sky Tower radar from Fox 13, guys, down in Florida. And what they've added, it's basically the same, except they've added the wind speeds. And so we're looking at 40-mile-per-hour storm as later in today, and that will kick it into the tropical storm category. Then the weakening section after the Dominican Republic, 40 miles an hour as it moves north and northwest, 45 miles an hour here. At this point, the center of circulation has already passed over the Florida Keys. But remember, your tropical storm winds are out in front of this, so by several hours. Then by Sunday morning, 8 p.m., the storm has strengthened to 60 miles an hour, and this section of the Gulf is very warm, especially this time of year. August is hot, and guys, we've got a heat wave coming in to meet this weekend. It's already getting warmer throughout the week, and we're already in central Mississippi getting heat advisories from the National Weather Service. Your advisory, this is 11 a.m. The location's there. Wind is at 35 miles per hour. It's moving west-northwest at 18 miles an hour. That's fast. That's why it's going to come in, guys. And That's why you're not seeing as much strengthening, I think, as before it gets into the Gulf because of the fast forward speed. Pressure is 1,012 millibars. Now, this is a group of the most popular models that we use, and everything definitely has a Florida impact, whether it comes ashore on the east coast of Florida. That's what I was talking about. Watch that just in case some of this high pressure in the Atlantic lets up a little bit, and that would bring the storm in. According to this, there's one model that's blue. It's very hard to see right there that curves it up through the Bahamas, but there are three. One is the CEM2, which shows it coming in somewhere near Miami, and between there, the other two models up towards Lake Okeechobee, then crossing Florida back into the Gulf. But notice, regardless of where most of these models in the central group start out here, as far as coming into the Florida Straits, they all end up right into the Florida Panhandle right there. Now let's take a look at the U.S. Navy Caribbean model, and you can see this thing strengthen once again once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico. Check this out. It's crossing the islands here. There, when you start seeing it get darker blue, look at the scale on the very right of this chart. That's when your millibars of pressure are getting lower. The lower that number, the stronger the storm is. And so let's look at the timing on this again. Right there, it has crossed southern Florida or the Keys, and this is on August the 14th. Let me back it up just a little. Let's come back. Right there, it's between the Bahamas and South Florida. That is the 13th. Today's the 10th. Okay, so your outer winds are already starting to affect Florida by the 13th. That would be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, South Florida. Listening to me, folks in Cuba, Puerto Rico, you know you got tropical storm warnings and watches out in that area. But this is the 13th, and if we step it forward, that's the 14th. It is also, if you notice, as I go back one step there, it's already sensing warmer water. Why? Because that's where the Gulf Stream turns up and goes out. Now, or goes out into the Atlantic. But your high pressure is represented in the orange, light and dark orange areas. And notice that is the steering current. But at this point, it is well into the Gulf of Mexico. So that's why a lot of times you've got to really watch the impact points. Now, I'm using the Navy model because of what I've seen, what I've witnessed, and if you guys that have watched this video, I mean, this channel have probably noticed, is that the Navy model usually will come out pretty accurate in the beginning, then it will waver. But by the time of the end of the path, by the time it comes ashore, usually the Navy model will drift back to where it started from. Just saying, we know it can change, but I have noticed that. Now and we're going to come forward in time. That's the 14th. It's crossing Florida. Still the 14th, moving very fast. August the 15th, coming back out into the Gulf. Now that's, again, let me remind you, the reason it already hasn't started strengthening more is because it has come ashore. If it follows a little more southerly track, it's going to be stronger than what's represented here. Just keep that in mind. 15th, still into the 15th right there. It's getting up into the Big Bend area. Tampa, you probably already by the 15th will have had storm surge up into your bay areas. All the low-lying areas, there will be, it depends on the strength of the storm. If it's a tropical storm, you could have 1 to 3 feet of surge, and that's just, keep an eye on how your boats are tied up, because there's going to be winds involved also. And again, the surge is not the waves. You're going to have some waves that are wind-driven on top of that, so just, again, remember it. Play it through. It's going to be coming in on the 16th. We'll let it kind of play itself through, and it will stop. You'll see it's going to do kind of the normal thing, get into land and try to head back out into the Atlantic. Depending on the strength of this thing, it could bring a lot of rain to this area here, up through Alabama, Georgia, going into the Carolinas and into Tennessee. So watch for flash flooding and things that like that. Possible spin-up tornadoes. We see that almost every time when it stays in the southeast and it's this hot. But guys, I know we're far out in as far as we got 4 or 5 days, but it's time to prepare now. We're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.